Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Love and light to you all here. I hope you're all doing well. As we move out of this new moon in Taurus and we inch closer towards the full moon in Scorpio. Are you guys ready? All right. Pluto up to bat at the full moon period with Mars as well. And so lovely, right? 8th house energies here at the absolute climax of the pinnacle of the full moon. So the highest peak of energy flow. Now, I made this video. Why? It was kind of interesting actually, because I was kind of drawn to a few of the older readings, so-called older. What is time? Completely an illusion. But I was drawn to watch some of the older readings, and one specifically from about 12 months ago, actually to be exact. And it was actually the reading where some kind of like a mention of Corona had come through, and I had posted about this I think it was about a month ago. Now anyhow, I went back to the original reading and I realized that it was actually exactly 12 months. It was like filmed April 26, 2019. Filming this today here, April 26, 2020. So interesting. I said 2022 almost. Okay. Give it a few more years. All right. But we're at 2020. And so I was like, hey, I'm gonna go watch that reading again. So I did, and I realized again, right down to the very date, it's exactly a year. So I'm watching that reading, and I'm like, wow, this is so. And I remember at the time of doing that reading, I was like, I feel this very strongly. Obviously, right? The energies that I relay, I connect with so deeply, but at the time I felt, well, it feels like there's a disconnect. It feels, and even in the reading, it's funny. I introed it with something about the timing is off. And so that reading was, I'll put the link in the bio description box below in the comments if you guys want to check it out. But that reading specifically was for the new moon, and it was for Pisces. Now, I believe it was for the new moon in Taurus, yes. And so we reached the new moon in Taurus just a few days back. So it makes sense, right? That full, year-long period where we reach again the same same new moon period. So kind of interesting. Why? Yet again, because I realized that what it was that I was reading on in that moment. When I was actually reading on it in that moment, I was like, wow, it's palpable. I feel it so strongly. Again, as usual, right? With the feelings obviously that I'm feeling when I'm reading are very, very, it's like as if it's like tangible. And the only way I can really describe it is as a sort of like a really vivid dream, a really lucid dream where I can feel, like, taste, and touch, like I swear I'm here, like that kind of feeling. Now when I was doing that reading, right, it was very much that feeling, but again, this sort of sense of, well, it's kind of still abstract. Let's say I don't really have an idea. Like, I remember even saying, like, specifically when I had said in that reading, keep clear of Corona, I was like, what is that? Corona, what's that? Okay, I was like, the beer? Like, what is that? Okay. Pisces, keep clear of your Neptunian tendencies, which may also be relevant. Always take it as you will. It's always, again, a matter of perspective, and when it is that you, let's say you find that you connect with a certain energy, whatever it is. At the time I was very much like, what exactly is this? Okay, in terms of placing or really kind of grappling with whatever it was that I was coming to kind of connect with the concept of. Now, then, right, as well, I came back to this reading and I watching it here now exactly a year later, and I'm like, okay, that obviously, the Corona thing, okay, that's obvious, but there were also so many other aspects of what it was that came through in that reading that I realized exactly 6 months from that time, actually, at the full moon in Taurus. And remember, that reading that I had done, it was in Hawaii, actually. It was April 26th again, 2019, was for the new moon of Taurus of 2019, and 6 months later they would come full circle to the full moon in Taurus. And typically, I mentioned this in my readings, that in general, that any new moon will correspond, in some way might come full circle in a certain way 6 months down the line, 6 months, later. So the new moon in Taurus culminating by the full moon in Taurus. So when we do actually, set those intentions around the new moon, you might find that it might take some time to sort of manifest in some shape or form. And there's so many factors there at play, right? Okay. But anyhow, so I was like, wow, this is like, if I had thought 6 months after that period of April 26, 2019, to go back to that reading, watch it, it would have been dead on for me. And it was weird because I was like, again, watching this reading today, and I'm like, that sounds like uncannily alike what it was that I had experienced. It was in about November, October, around the full moon in Taurus reading. So I was like, okay, so what is this sort of bringing full circle? And this is why I'm kind of making this video, because I realized, well, when we think about, we're reading on these sort of new moon stages and the full moon stages, which again, we're approaching here with the full moon in Scorpio coming up on May 7th, technically. You might already be feeling those energies culminating, especially if you've got a lot of Scorpio in your chart. And everyone does have Scorpio, just in varying propensities. So anyhow, it's very interesting because I realize, well, there is always that sort of macro and micro scale at play. There are unlimited sort of undulations of how energy might move, but it's really fascinating to think that, wow, there was this macro cycle that took place. It took a year to take place, right? It wasn't until a year actually went by that then these energies of, even, let's say, related to Corona, whatever else, came kind of full circle. And it was then this micro cycle of the new moon to the full moon period of Taurus that also, kind of culminated through time, but on a more, micro scale. So it's just so fascinating to think, time and space are truly an illusion. And, even in with the readings, right, in the littlest of ways, you can literally read on something, at a certain point in time, and a year later, right, find that it is like so very relevant for you at that moment in time. So if you ever feel guided, right, to watch and read, I'm actually going to post all of the series readings that I had done, specifically as we inch towards this full moon in Scorpio, because I'm like, wow, okay, well, the full moon in Scorpio, let's really take a look back 6 months prior to see what exactly, right, was hanging out for us in that reading, okay, or whatever else in general, energetically, 6 months prior, what was really the kind of, like, the content we're working with, and take a look at those readings there. So that was actually filmed in October, I believe it was. Was it October? Nonetheless, I'll post the links. And I actually have on the channel the playlist. So they're all sorted. All readings are sorted by new moon, full moon, and so if you want to go back to a certain, reading, then feel free. So technically here, for the new moon in Taurus that we just experienced, the year-long cycle would be the reading that was done for Pisces. It was a Pisces new moon. I'm going to put that as the first link below, and then I'll add the further notes. Now 747 there on the clock right there. It's funny because I actually, that number was brought to my attention earlier today. So whatever that may mean in particular for a number of you, 7, 4, 7, 4, 7, 11, 7 plus 11, 18, reducing down to 9. So 9, right, that last single digit before we reach 10, the culmination of the sort of cycle. So take it as you will. For a number of you, this is absolute ascension. I'm hearing that specifically. Take it as you will. Activations of the heart chakra as well. Connecting with I'm hearing your beloveds. I'm not sure what this alluding to, but take it as you will. Apply it as you feel it might relate to you, but it is the eternal dance, and how it is that we sort of perceive ourselves in this space is always a matter of our personal interpretation. So at any moment in so-called time and space, however you feel guided to connect with certain energies, always, right, kind of heed your personal intuition in that space, right? Even if, let's say, a certain reading is done, right, as you can see, this is a constant space of evolution of how we even come to fathom and understand this multifaceted dimension that we're operating in some shape or form, or in a number of shapes and a number of forms, as it is perceived, at least, right? So all form, right, in physical form at least, holding the sort of energetic imprint here, right, as well. Love and light to you. Enjoy this period. Everyone, thank you all so much for tuning in, connecting here to you. And let me know if you have any questions. Let me know, please, how it resonates. Let me know, like, when you go watch those readings again, if you do feel guided, right? And not to say that, hey, it's a must, but if you feel guided, if you feel kind of like as well, like, it's kind of experimental for me, I want to check it out and see how it might resonate, then feel free. So if you want to know what you kind of have moved through just recently, then you might find that watching, again, the reading that was done a year ago might really provide insights for you. In addition, if you like insights to 6 months prior. Furthermore, in moving towards this full moon in Scorpio, there were, kind of climbing towards Okay, in Scorpio yet again, around the 7th of May of 2020, then feel free to watch the new moon and Scorpio readings that were actually done in I think it was like in October of 2019. So I'm gonna post again the links below, and you can activate, okay, activate via those readings. Love and light to you. Bye guys. Bye.